Valhalla, and this is
Josh Heath. Hi.
Hi, everybody. We're going to keep this really brief, but Josh and I have known each other for what, 5 years?
Something like that. 5 years, yeah. 5, 6 years.
I guess I'm going to have to get really cozy here. All right. So I know Josh from Mage, the podcast, which I got started. Terry and Adam have taken it to new heights. But when I started, I said, I need a name for this podcast. And I had all these elaborate names I couldn't set on it. And Josh said, you should call it
Mage the podcast.
Simple. And also, at the time, you were doing Werewolf the podcast.
Yep. So it created a little podcast universe. There's also now a Changeling the podcast. So
yeah, it's a shared universe.
Yeah, exactly.
So we just had dinner together. Josh, he lived in San Diego previously, but he's here in a conference. And I might have something in my teeth, but I'm going to keep this really quiet. But we're calling this the Mythic Meeting of the Minds. Actually, I'm calling it. Josh has no idea. So I'm going to keep this short because we just had a very long dinner. I took him on a very long walk.
It was a good walk.
It was a good walk. So here's what we're going to talk about. So I'm doing Vikings versus Samurai, and there's these tropes that you have about Samurai. You have about Vikings. And there's certain things that you have to pay homage. Is that the right way of saying it?
Yeah.
And certain things, there's cliches that you might want to avoid. It's a personal choice. But it got me thinking, Josh, you're well steeped in heathenism and in Viking culture. What are some of the cliches, tropes that annoy you to no end, and what are the ones that you embrace?
I think the trope that I get most bothered by at the moment is makeup, right? The Vikings TV show popularized this elaborate makeup that the Vikings in that show wore, and none of that is historically accurate at all. While yes, there was coaling of the eyes and other makeup that was done, these elaborate, lovely makeup tips that people do are mostly derived from either African or Native American styles, and they are cool, don't get me wrong, but not really a Viking aesthetic. So that's the only thing I'm don't do
couldn't
those
get past
things. Can't get past that, not at all. The thing I do love though is rune stuff. Runes. Most of the Elder Futhark was not used by the time the Vikings actually came along. That was 400 or 500 years previous. And so most of the runes you see in Viking media would not have been used. But the Elder Futhark is cool as fuck. So I think having and using runes, even if it's not necessarily exactly historically accurate for the Viking era, is cool. Runes are cool. Use them in everything.
All right, I'm going to admit this to everybody here. The coaling of the eyes, that's my kink.
That's fair. It does look cool. So the other thing is helmets, horned helmets. While they're not historically accurate, I think including one in any Viking media at some point is fun because there were helmets, while not worn in battle, that were horned, that were part of ritual usage. So I always think it's interesting to include a horned helmet and see how people react to it, because they're going to be no, the Vikings didn't wear horned helmets. And you're right, but maybe they did.
So I will tag on that, and that's been a catchphrase of mine with Josh and I. We share a lot of wavelengths, a lot of differences, but there's a lot of ways that we connect. What I want to say about that is Roderick the Viking, our blind shaman, he has a Viking helmet, and when the artist initially drew it, I'm no, but then but how can you not do a comic book and not have horned helmets? So
exactly.
You got to go with that.
Yep.
So before we wrap this up, if you are listening, I'm a former DJ, so I always say listening. If you're watching, and if there's samurai tropes that drive you crazy, or Viking tropes that drive you crazy or you love, let us know. However, I'm going to put you on the spot here. This is a little different. In the spirit of Viking culture, I'm going to give you a gift. This is, hope I'm pronouncing this, the Viesviger in Yggdrasil coin. So this is my gift to you. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you. I have treasured the time that we have spent with each other. So I appreciate this gift deeply.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, I'm out. I always have a hard time ending these things, so I'm just going to tap this and pray for the best. Yes, I want to end that today.